our show E40 Talks, an ICT initiative which promises to get inspiring stories and brilliant speakers on board each episode. I am Shavinder, the brand head of this show, and we are currently showcasing the spirit of womanhood of our Choose to Challenge series. Please welcome a high energy, result driven, focused training consultant, Dr. Garima Bansal.
Thank you. Thank you, Shavinder.
Great, and thank you for joining us. So before we start our conversation, let our viewers know more about our speaker. Well, she's got a varied experience of 14 years into corporate education, sales, training, and she's training entrepreneurs since 2012. She works in the area of maximizing potential at an individual, team, organization level, and is driven to accelerate and improvise social engagement of workforce and consumers with measurable results. Diverse exposure in training coaching. Well, facilitation is different. Felicitations in different industries and help her in establishing herself as an expert in impacting competencies of human resources positively. The passion for developing people made her gain the expertise in designing and implementing end-to-end learning solutions, starting with training, need analysis, to ensuring and making learning solutions effectiveness. She is currently co-founder of The Eighth Vogue. Well, so that's all about our speaker. When I was reading about your bio, I realized we have so many things in common, but training is not an easy cup of tea, That's really nice that, especially when you're shaping up people, it's a different ballgame altogether. So starting my conversation, my first question, of course, is why the name The Eighth Vogue?
I know it is a very different name, and a lot of people ask me about this name. There are two reasons. I'll take you through both of them. The first is, Eighth Vow is for me is a commitment to your own self, a commitment which everyone must do to their own self, and a commitment to grow, a commitment to be the person we have always aimed to be, a commitment to ensure that we are utilizing ourselves to the best. We are our resources to our own self. So how do we ensure that instead of procrastinating, instead of just thinking and dreaming, we all have big dreams, and it's just that the Eighth Vow is a commitment where we can ensure that all of my dreams, whatever I have, my goals, whatever I have, I streamline it, and then I also go ahead and achieve it. So that was one. That is. Again, this includes a lot of we have various numerous programs for your personal development. We have coaching sessions, which, we give to our participants, and we help them achieve their goals. The second, the Eighth Vow, the reason is, usually in marriage, we always say there are 7 vows, which are so prominent, and, where it is about what all you are going to give to your spouse and what all you expect from your spouse. Yeah. Here the Eighth Vow means, what am I going to do to myself so that I give my 100% in my marriage? Yeah. So mostly it is, if you have seen all the Hindus, we have those 7 vows, Saat Feras, 7 commitments, which we usually give. Those 7 commitments are, again, I will do this for you. I will do that for you. What I'm going to do for myself. That is what the Eighth Vow. So we have our own program. We have a proper, a star program of the Eighth Vow, where we work with couples and we help them, it's just like, how often you get your car serviced. We do that regularly, isn't it? We all have reminders in our phone that, okay, now it's the service time. We have to get the oil changed. We have to ensure that, the air is proper in the tire and everything. But then what is it? Do you even service your relationship? How often you ensure that you take a pause and you see and you evaluate that what is happening in my relationship? Because primarily, I think this is the most important thing we all want from life. As we are a child, you say, if you're not going to study, you will not find the right groom, or you will not find the right bride. So that is something which is a goal. We want to have a good relationship with our spouse. But do we actually work on it? So that is why, the eighth vow.
Wow, very well explained. And any relationship for that matter needs a lot of understanding, and there are so many facts involved. So it's very interesting topic, for me to host somebody who is actually going to speak on the most important aspect is the relationship, companionship that we are talking about. So how can one get a perfect mate? That's, I think, the most difficult part.
Okay. Uh, a successful marriage is not about getting the right person, or, getting the right kind of emotion, or, again, what do you expect, putting it in a good picture. No, it is about you being right in the relationship. So it's a myth. I'll be very honest. I'm so sorry. But then there is perfect mate is a myth. Expecting a perfect mate rather is a myth. It is all about that how perfect you are in the relationship, what kind of inputs you are giving to ensure that, the marriage is going on fine. It is actually an inside out job rather than, outside in. Outside in is when we keep on expecting, I have a picture in my mind. This is how things should go. These are my expectations from the spouse. And, I am giving my 100%. He is the one or she is the one who's not responding. So what happens in that case, we end up into frustration, we end up into anger, we end up into denial to, just do a self-introspection and see that, is it something? In marriage, there are two people involved, right? So we cannot just say that this is what I want from you and this is what I can offer. We never check that, what is the expectation of the other person. So perfect mate is, instead of expecting, I always say that in my workshops too, that it's important for you to be one first. To you do self-introspection and see every marriage is different, because again, we always aim and we always dream. We have it has already gone hardwired in our brain that this is how a man should behave, and this is how women should ideally. Because we have seen our parents, we have seen our grandparents, uncle, aunt, and we try and pick up the best thing which makes us comfortable. For example, for men, women are supposed to be in the kitchen because I've always seen my mother doing the same. Yeah, men go out, they come, they're tired, and they just want to relax. It has already got hardwired in their brain. So we expect a perfect mate who will come and who will serve us, probably in the same way like our mother did to our fathers, for our fathers. But then, their dynamics were different. We don't know. As an outsider, we saw that relationship. We don't know what was inside. So it is more than expecting. It is again about doing self-introspection and seeing that, what is it that you are giving to the relationship. Usually in our Hindi Bollywood movies, Indian Bollywood movies, or any other movies, we talk about love before marriage, and then the movie ends and they live happily ever after. It is not a destination. You got married, that was a dream, and now it's all over. The love is over. Now it starts with responsibilities and other stuff. But then it is a journey. So you, instead of asking for a perfect mate, I always say be one.
True, because what I feel is it is two wheels or one cycle, and it has to be having a balance in it. If you expect only to males to behave, I think that is also not fair. And thankfully the times are changing now. And the COVID time has been a very good example wherein the marriages understood. अगर आप कोविड में आप अपने हस्बैंड के साथ रह सकते हो तो I'm sure you're going to stay throughout your time in the that's what I learned from my friends. They said if I can stay with my husband during COVID time in four walls, that means we will spend the rest of our life, because we have to accept the differences. That's very important, what I feel. All right, so again, so are there any rules for marriage, or if yes, then what are those?
The first is that don't think that if you can stay with your husband during COVID times, you can survive that wedding.
that is the note.
I know. But then trust me, I even have come across a lot of couples, a lot of, my own friends and all, they also joke around. But that talks a lot about their own wedding, We somehow want to stay together, but we want to stay at a distance too. Yeah, we just don't want too much of my husband or wife is something which I cannot be jailifying. I want my own space because I somehow feel that that person, the spouse, doesn't understand me. So it is high time instead of just delaying it, it's better that you highlight and you talk about the issues. So that was the first rule. The second, there are a lot of laws, as in, again, as I said, that each and every wedding, each and every marriage, it's different. We all have our own expectations. We should ideally never journalize things. Again, I am not, when I say that, men have their own, hardwired thing and they expect that women should behave in such a way, it goes for women as well. We also have our own expectations. I am earning, I will also make money with you, but then you are the one who is responsible for everything. When it comes to managing finances or other things. It is absolutely okay, whatever equations is set in. It is absolutely okay to women to stay home and take care of, household and take care of children, and men going out like our parents have done. It is absolutely okay. But there has to be an equation which makes both of them comfortable. It should not be just, that one is pushing and dominating the relationship and other one is just trying to survive. That is where the challenge comes. Most of the time, again, I don't say that, women empowerment. We have seen a lot of examples in recent where, women try to even take, advantage of, yes. So we should never journalize, it is both of them. They have to sit together. It is more about compatibility. Love will only stay if you both are compatible to each other. Mostly, we don't agree to this, that men and women are different. They are different. They are not equal. Equal when I say they are not same, right? They have their own thought process. The challenge comes when we both start, a race with each other. We both say, okay, if you can do this, even I can go ahead and I can also do the same. We both are very different. The programming here, the way, our wires are, it is all very different. I'm sure you must have, there was a book which was very popular a decade back of John Gray, Men Are from Mars and Women Are from Venus. Yeah? And it was really a bestseller and a hot seller. So we love reading such stuff, but we don't agree to it. In a wedding also, in a marriage also, we have to accept that we both are very different. We both think very differently. We both process information very differently. For men, they have their own needs. They have, for them, the definition of marriage is very different. For them, it is more about your physical intimacy. But for women, it is more about, making love. So, which is, again, there is nothing right or wrong. But then we have to accept, first of all, that yes, we both are two different kind of individuals. And we have to understand and celebrate those differences instead of arguing over it. Even if a man want to, they will, if they want something, want to share some information, they'll be very straight. They can finish a conversation within 2 sentences. And on the same hand, women can, we all can go on and on and on and just, the outcome probably might be the same. And then we say, you don't talk to me, you don't share your thoughts freely. He did share, but then, because our programming is very different, we expect very different things. Definition for love, definition for our behavior, it is absolutely different. I hope I'm making sense to you and you agree. You yourself, you share that you're married and,
Absolutely. When we talk about the so-called perfect marriage, but still there are some undercurrents, and I think everybody goes through that. So still, why the divorce rate is so high? What is the reason behind it? It's maybe what I feel is where there is no communication, definitely that relationship is really difficult to survive. That's what my thing is that. So why do you think the divorce rate is so high?
Shivendra, when usually we talk about Adam and Eve, they both, when they were born, they both were naked. Yeah. Yes. So they had nothing to hide. They both were very open. Then what happened? We started, as we move on with life, we started hiding things, right? I'm not again talking about the physical hiding, but then, and the relationship should be as open as it could be. Many a times, we tend to close ourselves. We feel that, I don't like his habit, or, probably we'll communicate in a very wrong way. That is, we'll start shouting, and we'll just, whenever you are high on emotions, whenever, you are high on anger, the other person will get closed. He will not understand, because then the emotion takes over your content, whatever you want to say. Yeah. So it is important that we sit calmly and we talk about the issues. You very rightly said, most of the time, communication is one of the biggest barrier in any marriage. We talk, but we talk to the right person, the wrong person. Sorry. Yes. Instead of talking to the spouse directly, we'll go ahead and we'll talk to our parent, or, a friend, and then we'll try to just take out the frustration. Then what happens? Probably we are feeling lighter, but then the issue stands there again. And, if we land into a similar situation again after a few days, we'll see, oh, this man doesn't understand. How will he understand, or how will she understand? Because you have never communicated what challenge, what frustration, what emotions you are going through. And now, because lives are become so busy, we all are so busy in our own life, our day-to-day activities, we have our own goals, we have our own dreams. Sometimes we are running in different directions, staying in the same house, but then I don't communicate with my husband, and he's not aware that what is happening in my life. All we talk about is khane mein kya khana hai, or about a little bit. Children, thankfully, they are the strength. Sometimes they do help. A lot of couples just stay together. Look, again, like I said in the beginning, there is no perfect mate and there is no perfect marriage. But then if you are giving your 100% and the spouse is not able to handle it, or he or she is not giving you the the way ideally they should, or they are just there are a lot of cases of domestic violence, and there are a lot of cases of miscommunication, or adultery. If you cannot handle it, it is absolutely okay to take a break and move out of that relationship. But just there are a lot of divorces, there are a lot of couples who come to me and they say that, this person doesn't understand me. It has been, we have been married for last 15 years. And in the last 15 years, he doesn't even know my favorite color. It is very small, but then they do come up with such stuff because it just bothers them so much. The challenge is we think in our own mind and we keep on dwelling over that problem instead of just, sitting and talking to the person. Now, again, I'll repeat myself, talking doesn't mean shouting or screaming or, getting angry or taking out your frustration. Now, I'm sure, you and our viewers also might be a little bit aware about the word called emotional intelligence. Earlier, we used to talk all about IQ, intelligence quotient, how much you know about the word. EQ is how much you know about your own self. So if I am not aware of my own emotions, I cannot manage them. I will never be able to communicate properly with the other person. Yeah. So it is important.
So I personally feel, because the EQ quotient should be actually taught to children from the formative years only, because this cannot be developed, when you're adult, when you're getting married. So it should be there. So I really like your interpretation, your explanation, that when you hide things, that's when the relationship gets complicated. Still, whatever the case, good, bad, ugly, we still believe in the marriage, the so-called institution, the oldest possible institution, So what is marriage, yesterday, today, or tomorrow? What's your take on that?
Marriage is the most beautiful bond or it's a blessing which is given by God. I take it like that. Because if you're alone, what is the motivation? What will you do? Even if you want to, you'll conquer the world. Still, if you're alone, you don't have a partner to talk. You don't have a partner to discuss. You don't have a partner where, with whom you can share your thoughts freely, or one who is there when you are not. You can pay for servants. Nowadays, it's not that you need a wife so that she can cook food for you, or, you don't need a husband so that he can drive you to, some place. You can have servants, but then it is such a beautiful relation, which, if you, you're loyal or you are there with your spouse and you manage or you service your relationship properly, it can be your reason to live, your reason to survive. I take it like that. Now it has changed, because the life have changed. It is not the same. Now, our grandparents had our own way of, living. It was very simple those days. They never had multiplex, they never had malls, they never had, Louis Vuitton and all of that. Nowadays, we are, as humans, we have become more hungry. We have our hunger to, get the best we can. So now again, because of our expectations have changed, in the similar way, our life has become more, different. That is what has impacted in our wedding also, in our marriage also. So it has changed, but then the relationship, the love, which ideally should be there, I feel that strongly it should be ideally the way, our grandparents or our parents have made love to each other, where, the love never changed. But then the expectation, the outer image of a marriage has changed.
Yes.
And with coming years, of course, with next generation, nowadays, again, their hunger is more. They want everything. You don't have it, they don't have patience. They'll just say, okay, fine, I'll just go ahead and I'll see for someone else, and just nowadays live in relationships. People want to test and try first before getting into a commitment. So that is, again, I strongly believe every human has his own, they should take their own decisions, and they should take the ownership of their own life, and whatever decisions they make, it is absolutely up to them. But then, yes, it is evolving and it is changing.
Yeah, very true. And so again, when we talk about that, it's a synergy that the couple has to maintain, So definitely, and there are many ingredients that you have already mentioned to us that we should be, following that. At least we need to keep reminding us about that, So when we talk about marriage and children, so what is it? What is your take on that? Marriage, children.
Again, there are a lot of couples I know who have been married for 10 years, more than that even, and they just don't want to get in, they don't want to have children, right? So it is, again, having children or not having children should be, again, between the couple. I've seen a lot of, family members pressurizing, "Arey, 10 saal ho gaye shaadi ko, abhi tak baby nahi kiya aapne." So, what kind of wedding? He'll leave you. People, even girls, I know a few female, they came to me for a coaching session and they did share that, I never wanted to have, but then there was a pressure which was created. If I'm not going to have, the person might leave me. So having children, first of all, should be a decision, because children comes with a lot of responsibility. I won't say that. Yes, they are blessing. They are, I think, the most beautiful thing which a woman can, be a mother, and the same goes for the father. But then there is a lot of responsibility which comes along, which must be shared between the couple. Again, like, old times, it is again hardwired that a mother is the one who has to take care of the child. And now, yes, it is changing. It is evolving. I've seen a lot of fathers also who are, stay at home and they take care of the child, and the mother goes out to work. But then again, because these are very changing times, probably 10 years from now, things will be more sorted. Our generation, people who are in 30s and 40s, they are the ones who are enjoying that day. For some of us, it is, for a lot of us, we are still in that bubble where, yeah, we have to just follow the norms. After having children, even, when the child is there, we have to accept and agree that it is not the mother who got the child on her own, or the father. It has to be, they both should be responsible for the child. On the other hand, even it should not be that, we'll take 50-50 of the ownership or the responsibility. No, again, it is absolutely to the couple that what kind of equation they want to set. There is not, you are a mom, you are staying at home and just taking care of a child. That doesn't make you less of a mom. Hats off to you. You're doing, I think, the biggest job. But then it should not come from the society that, oh, you are just sitting at home and just raising a child. You are so qualified. Go out and work. No, it should be a decision of both, having till raising. It should be a decision of the couple, that what they want, how they want, when they want, and how they want to raise their child.
Absolutely, because I think it's a very, it's let the couple decide, not the whole world. And when they are, it's a very big responsibility. And anything, see, as when we talk about our ancestors, so they had no say. The lady had no say. She was just a reproductory machine that time. Thankfully, the times have changed. The lady has a say that, I want kid now, or I don't want. And very rightly said by you, let the women or the parent decide that we are ready now. All right, that's wonderful. I love having this kind of discussion with you. It's a very unique discussion that I am doing on my show. One last question I want to ask, since you are definitely a expert, so what kind of workshops do you hold to for a building bond?
So we have multiple programs. One of our pioneer program where we take the couples out for, 1 night or 2 night, different again workshops, where we talk, we have series of sessions which happen. So usually we have gone to Manali, we've gone to, we have in Gurgaon also and other places, it all depends that if there's a company which comes to us and they say that, okay, fine, we have 10 couples and you please take us out. So we have a whole flow for 2 days where it is not a gyan bazi, I'll be very honest. We don't, as I said, I strongly believe there is no fixed 10 things that you do in a wedding and it will be all okay. It is about companionship. It is about, how much you want to understand and how much you feel that you can be understood. So we have series of sessions, which we do. It is all activity based. We make them do fun and we make them relive their honeymoon days. When they felt that, this is something I wanted. On a honeymoon, we always feel that this is something, I'm so happy, I'm so proud I got married to this person. But then later on, as we move ahead, we just forget about that love. So we talk about intimacy. We have special experts who join our workshop for even children, raising a child, or even for women, who feel that they are not empowered, or for men even, what kind of role they ideally should have, or how they can manage their time. As I said, it's not about just telling them, it's about helping them, holding their hands. Each one of us have our own challenges. So we get experts and, they sit with them, they have one-to-one interactions. In the evenings, we make them go crazy. We have a lot of couple intimacy activities. We do couple yoga. So it is again a 2 days workshop, which is full with activities. And then later, if there are couples, who want to carry on with certain coaching sessions where, if they have any particular challenge which they are facing. Usually, we always talk about marriage counselors when we are at the edge of taking a divorce, that I cannot stay with that person. Now I want a marriage counselor. Ideally, it should be just, little time you need to take out for your relationship and sit with an expert where, they can help you and guide you for, how you can be the best version of your own self in this beautiful relationship called wedding or marriage. Sorry. And again, like you said earlier, in our schools, we have never been taught that how you should, behave, or what should be your emotional quotient, or, how a human must interact, how a human must connect with the other human. Building relationships and, connecting with the other person, I feel again is the most important skill or a trait which a person can have. Because if you're able to connect with the other person, everything else can be taken care of. So this whole workshop is, is based on these things.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Garima. I feel great. Our viewers are really being benefited today. Where to consult and whom to consult when things are in trouble, or even not in trouble. There are a lot of things that can be learned through your workshop and through your endeavor of keeping the bond together. I feel that a great marriage isn't something that just happened. It is something that must be created. That's my take on that. Thank you so much, and all the very best for all your future endeavors. And I am very thankful for being a part of your, being a part of our show today, Choose to Challenge.
Thank you so much, Ravinder. Thank you.
Great. So if you wish to share inspiring stories, please contact me at shavi@e4gtalks.com. I thank all my viewers to please like, share, and subscribe to our challenge series, and especially today's show, which is absolutely beneficial for all those who are looking for a counseling or a relationship bond, how to keep it healthy and keep going. And do not forget to put your comments in the review section. For more interesting stories, please stay tuned. Till then, Jai Hind. Thank you.
E4D Talks is brought to you by ISECI, Indian Ex-Defence Service Employees Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Thanks to its vast veteran network and global and pan-India associates, ISECI can carry out various commerce facilitations and CSR projects across India and the world. Some of ISECI's core capability areas are Skill India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Digital India, any ex-serviceman welfare or job program, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan related projects, telemedicine and healthcare training and job scheme, Save Water scheme, defense industry SME, MSME cluster and hub development, maritime training and inland water training with job facilitation, Canada study, job and permanent residency opportunity, e-commerce, Andaman and Nicobar commerce opportunities. ISECI's global reach includes countries like Indonesia, Slovakia, Canada, Nepal, Singapore, Rwanda, USA, UK. Above all, it is ISECI's effort to create a veterans brand made by the veterans, for the veterans and made up of the veterans. Every Indian's support is invaluable in this journey. ISECI is a registered society for ex-servicemen's welfare and envisions that every veteran should be a part of India's economic growth story. It is the aim of ISECI to create an enabling commerce platform that will empower and synergize the veterans' talent pool. This is possible only with the support of entrepreneurs, businesses and consultants from civil society. All proceeds, if any, are utilized for the welfare of ex-servicemen and for public charity.